Good morning, class. We are now in a brand new lesson for our subject, Fundamentals of Accountancy, Business and Management 1. Last week, we have discussed about the 5 major accounts and what are those accounts. So first, we have the asset, then we have the liabilities, then the owner's equity, and then we have the income and expenses. And also we have discussed about the chart of accounts and what can we see with those chart of accounts. Ang makikita natin sa chart of accounts ay ang listahan ng mga account titles na gagamitin natin during the course of our business para sa recording. At mapapansin nyo doon sa chart of accounts na yun, may mga code na naayon sa bawat account titles na gagamitin ng business. Now that every business has the transactions of their own, there should be some proof of the transactions. Kailangan ang ebidensya na may naganap na transactions or business transactions. At kapag meron tayong ebidensya na nagpapatunay dito, nire-record na natin ang transaction. Ang tanong, saan ba natin unang nire-record ang business transactions? At ito ay ang ating pag-aaralan. Ang general journals at meron din tayong special journals. Transactions and events are the starting points in the accounting process. By relying on business forms, transactions and events can be analyzed as to how they will affect business performance and financial status. Journals and special journals used in recording financial transactions help bookkeepers and accountants to identify and describe transactions and events in entering the accounting process. So nakakatulong itong mga journals and special journals nito para tama nating ma-identify yung nangyaring transaction. These original evidences contain information about the nature and the amounts of the transactions. Indeed, these are the basis for journal entries. So yung mga written evidences na yan, ano-ano ba itong mga evidences na ito? Yung mga sales invoice, yung official receipts, ito ang magiging basehan ng gagawin nating journal entries na i-record naman sa journals at special journals. Previous lessons taught us how to identify business transactions. We already learned the 5 major accounts. Now we are going to learn the next step of the accounting process, and that is recording. So, what is this journal? Journal is referred to as the book of original entry. Bakit book of original entry? Kasi dito unang-unang nire-record yung business transaction. For each transaction, the journal shows the debit and credit effects on specific accounts. Last week, napahapyawan na natin ang tungkol sa debit at credit na ginagamit sa pagre-record. Maya-maya, malalaman pa natin ang tungkol sa debit at credit at makikita natin kung paano ito ginagawa. Advantages of the use of journal. It provides a systematic and chronological record of transaction. Pag sinabi natin chronological record of transaction, date by date yan. So, pagka tayo ay nagre-record, ilalagay natin yung date ngayon. Pagka nangyari ang transaction bukas, yung date bukas, and so on and so forth. It simplifies the ledger as some details in the journal need not be written in the ledger. Ang sinasabi dito, hindi lahat ng nasa journal ay kailangan pang ilagay sa ledger, yung iba lang. Mamaya malalaman natin yan. It provides adequate explanation of each entry and presents necessary information about the transactions such as the account debited and credited and related amounts. Sa pagre-record, makikita natin na merong account title tayong record and then meron ding explanation. It ensures that the double entry bookkeeping system is observed when recording transactions. Dito ay makikita na rin natin yung double entry na terminology na ating narinig na mula pa doon sa history ng accounting. It helps in solving misunderstanding in business because it serves as proof and legal evidence of transaction. Itong journal na ito ang nagpapatunay ng recording ng pangyayari sa business transaction. Kaya kung ano man ang hinihingi pang pruweba na makikita natin sa financial statement or sa trial balance or sa mga susunod na steps, ang unang-unang titingnan ay ang journal entry. There are two types of journals. The first one is general journal and the second one is special journal. The general journal is the most basic journal. Typically, a general journal has spaces for dates, account titles, and explanations, references, and two amount columns. Special journal used for similar and recurring transactions to facilitate efficient and practical recording. Recurring transactions, ibig sabihin yung paulit-ulit na transaction. The journal makes several significant contributions to the recording process. First, it discloses in one place the complete effects of a transaction. Second one, it provides a chronological record of transactions. Number 3, it helps to prevent or locate errors because the debit and credit amounts for each entry can be easily compared. Tandaan nyo guys na kapag kayo ay nag-debit, yung amount na ilalagay nyo ron, dapat yun din ang katumbas or total nung credit. Kaya sa bawat error, halimbawa hindi nagbalanse, madali natin siyang matitrace. So ito ang example ng general journal. Ganito ang itsura niya. So merong date, merong account title and explanation, tapos may reference, may debit at credit. Itong general journals na ito, may mabibili na tayo ito sa bookstores at office supplies. Ang process ng journalizing ay ito. Unang-una ay yung paglalagay natin ng date. Puntahan natin para makita ninyo muna ang example ng general journal. Ganito ang itsura niya. So, unang-una, ilagay natin yung date. Pangalawa, the debit account title. That is the account to be debited, which is entered first at the extreme left of the column headed account titles and explanations, and the amount of the debit is recorded in the debit column. So, yung pangalawang step, i-record natin sa debit. Yung debit, ito yung leftmost part. Tapos yung pangatlo naman, yung credit. Sa indented siya, so medyo pakanan siya. So, balikan natin ulit yung example. Nakita natin, no? Yung cash dito yung debit. Tapos, yung credit dito itong capital. Leftmost part yung cash, yung credit naman ay naka-indented siya. So, nasa bandang kanan siya. A brief explanation of the transaction, which appears on the line below the credit account title. A space is left between journal entries. The blank space separates individual journal entries and makes the entire journal easier to read. Tapos, yung reference, which stands for reference, which is left blank when the journal entry is made. This column is used later when the journal entries are transferred to the ledger accounts. Tingnan ulit natin. Ito yung kanyang explanation sa ginawa mong pagde-debit at pagde-credit. Ibig sabihin ito, halimbawa, sa una si cash, tas nag-credit ka ng capital, investment yan. So, every transaction, nilalagyan natin ang explanation para madali nating maintindihan kung bakit tayo nag-record ng ganong journal entry. Yung reference ay iniiwan munang blanco hanggang mag-record tayo sa ledger. At yung debit at credit, dapat yan ay pareho ng amount para balanse. Some entries involve only two accounts, one debit and one credit. An entry like this is considered a simple entry. Some transactions, however, require more than two accounts in journalizing. An entry that requires three or more accounts is called a compound entry. All the transactions in the above examples are simple entries. Kapag isa or dalawa na yung debit or credit mo, ang tawag na doon ay compound entry. This is an example of a compound entry. On September 7, 2015, Mr. Mabait purchased a motorcycle costing 80,000 pesos. He pays 30,000 cash and agrees to pay the remaining 50,000 on account, which means to be paid later. So, ito na yung compound journal entry kasi meron na siyang dalawang credit, yung cash at saka yung accounts payable. So, dapat yung total ng credit ay equal doon sa amount na nasa debit. Ganon din naman, pwede ring maging dalawa o tatlo ang debit at ang credit naman ay pwedeng isa rin or pwede rin namang lagpas pa ng isa. So, ang tawag doon ay compound journal entry. Yung ibang mga CPA or practitioners, ang ginagamit nila instead na account title and explanation, ang nilalagay nila ay description or particulars. Pareho lang yon. Ang importante ay alam natin ang ating ginagawa sa pag-journalizing. Now, special journals. Some businesses encounter voluminous quantities of similar and recurring transactions which may create congestion if these transactions are recorded repeatedly in a single day or a month in the general journal. Take the case of our example above. If Mr. Mabait will record the sales per day using the official receipt or cash sales invoice issued, it would be unnecessary and impractical to credit sales account repeatedly in order to facilitate efficient and practical recording of similar and recurring transactions as special journal issues. Dito papasok ngayon ang special journals para doon sa maramihang transaction at paulit-ulit na nangyayari. The following are the common used special journals. We have the cash receipts journal. This is used to record all cash that has been received. Cash disbursements journal. This is used to record all transactions involving cash payments. Sales journal or sales on account journal used to record all sales on credit or on account. Purchase journal or purchase on account journal used to record all purchases of inventory on credit. So this is an example of the cash receipts journal. As we have defined, this is a book of original entry where all cash receipts transactions are recorded, such as cash investment, loans, cash sales, collections of customers' accounts, and cash refund. Basta't cash ang naging transaction, dito natin ilalagay sa cash receipts journal. Pansinin nyo na lang kung ano yung mga heading nitong cash receipts journal. May date, merong received from kung sino ang nagbayad sa'yo, yung explanation, ano bang ibig sabihin ng transaction na yon, bakit siya nagbayad sa'yo, yung OR number, tapos ano yung dinebit natin dito, yung cash, automatic yan, cash, kasi na-receive mo yung pera. Tapos, meron dito accounts receivable credit. Kasi kapag tayo ay tumanggap na nung collection, kine-credit na natin ang receivable. Ang unang transaction kasi na nangyari dito, kung bakit nag-credit ng accounts receivable ay yung pagkakabenta natin sa ating customer na utang, ang debit natin doon ay accounts receivable. Tapos ang credit natin ay ang income or sales. Kaya, nung nagbayad si customer, kinakailangan i-credit mo na ngayon si accounts receivable. And then, meron din ditong sales discount. Kung meron, ilalagay natin. Tapos, sundry accounts. Ito yung iba pang accounts na hindi naman direktang may kinalaman dito sa cash receipts journal. Kagaya nito, no? Yung capital, yung payable dito natin ilagay sa sundry account. And then, of course, yung F ay ililive muna natin as blank. Ito naman ang example ng cash payment or disbursement journal. All cash payments are recorded in this journal, such as cash purchases of merchandise and other assets, payments of accounts and other liabilities, payments of expenses, cash withdrawals of the owner, and cash refunds to the customer. Basta't nabawasan ang cash ni kumpanya, dito natin i-record sa cash payment journal. Kabaliktaran naman ito nung kanina na cash receipts journal. Ang kanyang mga headings ay almost the same. We have the date at kung kanino ibinayad, yung explanation, tapos yung voucher number, yung cash credit, purchase discount, accounts payable, dinebit naman natin dito just in case na nagbayad tayo ng utang natin. Tapos, cash purchases debit, and then we have the sundry accounts. Now we have the sales journal. Sales of merchandise are usually either on cash or on account basis. Cash sales for retailers like the big department stores are run on cash register tapes, which are summarized in cash summary report and entered in the sales journal based on the total amount. Ito yung example ng format ng sales journal. So, we have the date, tapos nakalagay kung sino yung customer, yung invoice number, tapos yung accounts receivable na nakadebit, tapos yung cash sales na nakadebit, tsaka yung sales na credit. Sales journal, utang yan. Dito nilalagay yung sales mo na utang. Bakit utang lang ang ilalagay dito? Kasi kung cash yan, hindi mo siya ilalagay dito sa special journal na sales journal. Kasi ilalagay mo siya doon na sa cash receipts journal. Purchase journal, kabaliktaran naman ng sales journal. Dito naman, purchases of merchandise on account. Bumili ka ng merchandise na utang. So, dito mo naman siya ilalagay. Bakit hindi kasama rito yung binili mong merchandise na binayaran mo agad ng cash? Kasi kung cash agad yun, ilalagay mo siya sa payments journal. The summary of business papers involved in finances of the business, which are used for recording and journalizing transactions. So, ito yung summary of special journals. Yung cash receipts journal, ang kanyang posting abbreviation ay CR, ang cash payments journal, CP, ang sales journal ay S, ang purchase journal ay P, ang general journal ay GJ. Itong mga ito ay nilalagay doon sa portion ng reference ng ledger. Now, speaking of ledger, we have the ledger and the subsidiary ledger. The ledger refers to the accounting book in which the accounts and their related accounts are recorded in the book are posted periodically. The ledger is also called the book of final entry because all the balances in the ledger are used in the preparation of financial statements. This is also referred to as the T account because the basic form of a ledger is like the letter T. Tinawag itong book of final entry dahil nga dito na magbabase ng mga balanse para maggamit doon sa preparation ng financial statement. Posting is the process of transferring information from the journal to the ledger. Ang term yan ay posting. The role of the ledger in the accounting cycle. The accounting cycle, the ledger is considered as its centerpiece. The accounting system and the company's financial statement reports consist of account balances and transaction histories. Ledger is involved in several steps in the accounting process. Historically, the use of journal and ledger entries are handwritten in notebooks After every transaction or event, such as sale, expense, earned revenues, and other activities that affects the company's operation occur. Today, journals and ledgers data and transactions are recorded in the company's books through the use of electronic accounting software. Examples ng mga accounting software na meron tayo ngayon ay yung Page3, meron din tayong point of sales na ginagamit sa mga stores, sa mga groceries, at sa mga iba pang mga tindahan. Continuous accounting is the practice of keeping accounting records up to date and ready for closing at any point in the accounting period. There are two types of ledger. First one is the general ledger, which is a grouping of the entity's accounts, is referred to as ledger. Although some firms may use various ledgers to accumulate certain detailed information, all firms have a general ledger. It is called the reference book of the accounting system and is used to classify and summarize transactions and to prepare data for basic financial statements. Now, the chart of accounts present all the listings of account entries that appear in the company's journal and ledger accounts. All active accounts in the list are to be presented in the general ledger. So yung mga account titles na ginagamit natin sa ating journal entry at saka eventually nilalagay natin sa ledger, they should be in the chart of account of the company. So sabi nga natin, depende sa kumpanya ang mga account titles na kailangan nilang gamitin. It should be letter B, and this is the subsidiary ledger. This is considered an individual customer's account in case of accounts receivable controlling account. The individual customer accounts are the subsidiary account. The subsidiary ledger, like the general ledger, may simply be a group of accounts in a binder, or it may be a file card arrangement. In either case, the order is either numerical by customer number or alphabetical by customer name. The sum of all the individual balances in the subsidiary ledger must equal the balance in the control account in the general ledger. For every amount posted to the general ledger, a controlling account must be posted to one or more of the customer's accounts in the subsidiary ledger. So ano ba itong sinasabing subsidiary ledger? Mostly, ginagamit ito sa accounts receivable at accounts payable. Sa ledger kasi or sa financial statement, makikita natin doon halimbawa ang accounts receivable ay 100,000. Balance na yon. Balance na. Ngayon, ano ba itong subsidiary ledger? Yung 100,000 na yon ay sino-sino ang may-ari ng accounts na yon. Halimbawa, si customer A ay 20,000, si customer B 50,000, si customer C ay 30,000, and so on and so forth. Yan ang laman ng subsidiary ledger, yung individual account, or individual na customer. So yan yung subsidiary ledger. Ngayon, yung pinaka-balance ng bawat customer na yun ay dapat magto-total siya doon sa nakalagay doon sa general ledger. Ito ang example ng subsidiary ledger ng accounts receivable. So ganyan pa rin, may date, may terms, mayroong F or yung reference niyan. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng J2? Journal na page 2. Ayan, yun ang ibig sabihin ng F. Makikita yan sa General Journal page 2. Then may debit, may credit, at ito yung balance. So sabi nga natin, ang subsidiary ledger ay individual ledger account ng mga customer. Kaya dito nakalagay ang name si A. Gray. Sa accounts payable naman, pareho lang din. Individual customer na pinagkakautangan mo. At ang total ng bawat balanse ng bawat may-ari ng account na yon dapat ay yun din nakalagay doon sa balance sheet natin under accounts payable. So, sabi nga natin, no, we have the two main subsidiary ledgers that are used in double entry bookkeeping. So, yung accounts receivable ledger at saka accounts payable ledger. So, these are the customers ledger list na individual yan at dyan naka-record yung kanilang individual accounts. Ganoon din sa payable ledger. Kung kaya't sila ay tinawag na subsidiary ledgers. Now, we have this T account. Ang sabi nga kanina, yung ledger ay pwedeng tawagin T account dahil ito ay almost ka-shape or parang letter T pag tinignan mo siya. So, nakikita nyo sa picture, ang T account, sa left side niya ay yung debit at yung right side niya yung credit. Ang mga nasa debit ay ito yung mga normal balances ha. Sa debit yung assets, expenses, liabilities, increase in assets, tsaka losses. Sa credits naman, ang normal balance nitong mga to ay makikita sa liabilities, income, capital, increase in liabilities, tsaka decrease in assets. At itong normal balances na ito ay sumasaklaw pa rin doon sa ating accounting equation na assets is equals to liabilities plus owner's equity. Talking about the normal balances, again, yung assets, ang normal balance niya ay debit, and then yung liabilities niya, ang normal balance naman niya ay credit, gayon din naman ang owner's equity, ang normal balance niya ay credit. That is all for our lesson for this week. We are now in our question of the week. Number 1 question, those transactions for which there is no separate book are recorded in the letter A, cash receipts journal, letter B, general journal, letter C, purchase journal, and letter D, sales journal. Number 2 question, accounts receivable ledgers and accounts payable ledgers are examples of blank. Letter A, subsidiary ledger. Letter B, substandard ledger. Letter C, substantial ledgers. Letter D, special ledger. Comment your answers in the comment section. So hanggang dito na lang guys. At see you again next week for our lesson. Have a nice day.